Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning we're going to talk about my thoughts on the tidying up movement. This is part 2 of a 2-part series, so let's jump right into it. Now, the life-changing magic of tidying up focuses in on your personal space, your home, and how organized that space is. Now, Marie also went through the process of looking at your professional space as well. In fact, that's where she started. She started the journey when she was working in a corporate office and people continuously asked her opinion for her to help them organize their spaces, to make it more enjoyable and to be more intentional with their space. So that's actually where she started, even though she's more known for going into clients' homes and helping them through this process. So Marie Kondo and Scott Sonnenschein, it's kind of a cool last name, they wrote a book, Joy at Work. So they co-wrote a book having to do with sparking joy at work with your workspace and being intentional about your workspace. Now, when you're looking at your workspace in particular, for many people, it's pre-organized for them if they work in a 9-to-5 for a corporation. But there's a lot of things you can do from an organization standpoint, even if you can't necessarily change the aesthetics of the office. So in substantiating the need for people to look at their workspaces, Marie mentioned a recent study that looked at the lost productivity of employees due to disorganization. So she mentioned that the average employee loses a week due to not knowing where stuff is, not knowing where to find things, misplacing things, and therefore it's important to figure out how to organize your own space, to know where things are at. And she also mentioned that those who appear to be more organized typically not only build trust with their bosses quicker, but also people tend to like to work with them more, and therefore they have better opportunities. And so there's a lot of various benefits to being organized, not only from the standpoint of finding your stuff quickly and being able to have just that ability to clear space in your mind, but also from a standpoint of your colleagues and those that you work for or with accordingly. So in this book, she looks at realigning yourself with your goals, actually looking at the ultimate vision that you have and looking at your goals for your workspace based on where you want to go. So she breaks down the workspace based on the ability to create a space to spark joy, to create functional joy, and then to set up for future joy. So of course, with that, she's basically looking at, okay, what is your current space? How can you create a space that works for you, that works best for you and how you operate, looking at how it can be functional, and then also figuring out what you want ultimately so that you can start working towards that when it comes to your space. So looking at 10 main overarching themes of joy at work, I basically broke down those main topics so that it is something that's actionable on your behalf. So when you're looking at those 10 items, the first one looks at books. Now, books was the second item for your home space. Obviously, when you are in your workspace, you most likely don't keep clothes there, so you can kind of jump right over that one. But jumping into books in particular, you want to first look at those books, of course, based on Marie's words, sparking joy. So first and foremost, you're going to want to look at the books that you have in your office being something you truly enjoy. Now, with that, you're in a workspace, you're working for an employer most likely, and so you're going to have probably a lot of books that don't necessarily spark joy. But at the same time, you also want to look at those that are actually references for the position you hold. And so if you are a CFO, you may have references for any kind of gap related content that you need to be aware of and mindful of. You may have IRS guidelines. You may have other related material that is pertinent, important for the specific role that you hold. Now, she also mentions that these books should speak to your values whenever possible, and then also that they should be something that you see as important as a part of your office, something that's actually necessary. The second component comes down to paperwork. Now, paperwork can overwhelm us at work, much like it does at home, but paperwork from a standpoint of anything that is pending your attention, any projects that you are working on actively, you obviously may need paperwork for if it's not done completely virtually. And so you'll have those pending components. You'll have those items that you need to save. Maybe it's an upcoming project that you're going to be working on in the future. And then anything that you want to save just because you want to save it, just because you may need it for a future project. But really looking at those three components related to those items that are pending that you're working on now, those items that you will be working on in the future, and then any kind of paperwork related to projects you've done maybe in the past or research you've done for future projects. So you will want to have these documents in hanging files rather than stacked on a corner of a table, so that you can be intentional about what documents you are holding on to. And therefore, it also gives you an ability to quickly grab the hanging file that you need and be able to apply that to whatever you're working on, the task at hand. And so that enables you, if you have to have paperwork, to have a little bit more organized approach to your paperwork. So the third component comes down to items. Items is focused in on the to-do list that you may have, the projects that are looming, that you're waiting on accomplishing, but being actually realistic and mindful of what actually can be accomplished. Many of us look at all the things we want to accomplish, and therefore it can provide a level of stress on an ongoing basis because of all the things that we're constantly keeping in the forefront of our minds that we need to do. And so it ends up distracting us from the main things that we need to focus on. But these items are important to really be mindful of because of the fact that we don't typically give breathing room. We don't actually provide ourselves with the ability of having times when we are doing nothing so that it can inspire a level of creativity. And so oftentimes we max out our lives from a standpoint of scheduling everything out and working on too many projects at once. And then what ends up happening is we don't actually rest. We don't actually stop. We don't actually allow ourselves to reflect on what we're working on and making sure we're doing it in the most effective and efficient way possible. So the fourth component that Marie outlines comes down to your desktop. So your desktop is, of course, your digital aspect of organization, and she encourages people to basically organize their virtual desktops so that there are folders having to do with any current projects, any records, or anything that would be past work that would need to be saved. So creating these folders will allow you to clear up mental space so that you're not constantly getting distracted by all the different icons on your desktop. So this could be a helpful thing to apply in order to have 3 folders or somewhere right around there, instead of having a plethora of different folders that you have to figure out what's in what folder, and you constantly feel like you're getting distracted by them, and so on and so forth. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.